All right, my remote students, time to do kit number 2. This is a gram staining kit. So you have your microscope slide with bacteria, crystal violet, iodine, alcohol, safranin, and 4 sterile plastic droppers and gloves. So we're going to open this on up. We're going to pull our glass slide out. Now I did wrap these in bubble wrap to keep them from breaking. So you can slide it out of the end of the bubble wrap. And make sure you can see that the slightly raised part is the bacteria smear. And then I just put a circle on it on the bottom. So I'm going to take that out and set it down. And I put the bubble wrap aside because when you throw away a glass slide, you probably want to slide it back in the bubble wrap. Let's see. Gloves, again, large gloves. I had to go with what would fit most people. So I'm sorry, my petite young ladies and gentlemen, if these are overly big. So I'm going to slide my gloves on. We're going to do this just like we were in a lab. This would be the first step before you handle anything else. Slide the gloves on. And we have our 4 sterile plastic droppers. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have 4 vials in here. Now the one, let's see, the Safranin, you're going to notice isn't full, and that's on purpose. You don't need a lot of that. So to do a gram stain, the first thing you would do is you'd take some bacteria from a plate and you'd put it in a drop of water on your slide, and you would pass this over a flame until the water evaporated and the bacteria was basically stuck there. Again, we don't have access to an open flame, or not all of you would, so I'm doing this in a way where I sent you home the heat-fixed bacteria. So step 1 is you're going to apply your crystal violet. I'd say about 5 drops and leave it on for a minute. The timing for this one isn't as important, but if you were doing this in a real lab, you would pay attention to that. Gonna open up my dropper. I'm just going to go ahead and pull all 4 of these things open. In a real lab, you would not work without gloves on. So we're practicing safety. We're working with our gloves on, but if you need to pull your gloves off to open these guys up, then do it. Don't lose your sanity. So I'm just opening all 4 of these. Hindsight, I probably could have done this before I started the video. But then you would have missed the glorious babble fest that is me opening up lab supplies. Sorry. It's worse when you're here in person. Okay, so putting my gloves back on because lab safety matters. Take your sterile dropper and your crystal violet. Open up your crystal violet. Suck some of it into the dropper. Close the crystal violet and set it aside. And about 4 to 5 drops on your slide. Now you could let this sit for a minute if you'd like. You could pause the video for a whole minute. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to dump off the excess. In a lab, you'd rinse with water. So if you want to take a second and go rinse this out with water, you can. Not necessary, but you can. So you rinse this, and now you're applying the iodine. Okay. So I'm going to set my slide down, open my iodine, and suck some of it into a new sterile dropper. The reason you have 4 droppers is you use 1 for each chemical. And close the iodine and set it aside. Again, simulated, so it's not going to hurt you if you have an iodine allergy. And 4 to 5 drops on your slide. And in a real lab setting, you'd let this sit for 30 seconds, okay? And you'd rinse it off with water, okay? So you've done 2 of the 4 steps. The crystal violet will go into the cells. The iodine goes in and sort of pulls the crystal violet out of some types of cells, but not all. Then the alcohol does the rest. So you have your A, alcohol, and another sterile dropper. So the third of the 4 you have, alcohol into the dropper. And this is they call it the destaining process. So you put some alcohol on there and you would destain until you no longer saw purple. Well, in our case, we don't see any. So we're just going to put some alcohol on there, destain it a little bit more if you want the full lab experience. So you have some alcohol sitting on there. Now the last step is the safranin. Now the safranin's job is either to turn our gram-negative bacteria pink, or our gram-positive bacteria will stay purple from the crystal violet in the first step. So you suck some of this up, and you don't have a lot, but that's okay. You don't need a lot. Now, in a real lab, guys, you would see this under a microscope. You would not be able to see this with your eyes like you're about to. But you put the safranin on, and again, in a real lab setting, you would look under a microscope, but you guys can see it here. It turned bright pink, indicating what kind of bacteria? Pause. Think back. Gram-negative. That's right. So now I'm going to slide this back into the bubble wrap to throw it out so that it doesn't like puncture through a garbage bag. I recommend you do that too. And I'll do that later. You can throw everything away. Congratulations on doing a gram stain at home, guys.